Hi, welcome to the Landslide finger picking version tutorial. How to play that. And I'm going to be using a C chord, a G chord with a B on the bass, an A minor, and I will also be using a D with an F sharp on the bass that adds an open B. So I would call that probably a D, excuse me, a D6 with an F sharp on the bass. And we're going to use a G with a 9 added to it. It's going to sound really nice. You're going to love that one. And E minor, right? So we've got those chords. Finger picking pattern is going to use these 4 strings on the C and on the G with the B on the bass, and the A minor on the D with the F sharp, and the G with the 9. I'm skipping this one. For these chords. And those are the those are the strings I'm going to use for the finger picking pattern. So the bass, the only thing that changes strings is the bass, or what your thumb's going to pluck. And most of the time it's going to be down here on the A string. Okay, so that's where the bass note is. You notice my thumb's going back and forth from here. Right? With that first note, boom, boom, that's the bass note, right? Boom. Right. When you get to this part, your thumb's going to have to skip that string. It feels like so much more work when I'm thinking about it and being really deliberate about what I'm doing here. But it's not that. Once you get into how it flows with the song, it's really not that bad. Right, so that's what your thumb's job is going to be, depending on whether you're in the verse or the other, the B section of the song. I think is probably the best way to describe it. So what's the jobs that your other fingers have to do? So we know your thumb's doing the boom, 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 boom. And sometimes it's going to be going down to the low E string to get that bass note down there. Okay, so there's a couple different ways you can do that. Do the finger picking pattern. If you want, you can just use these two, your thumb and your index finger. Right, that works, and that'd be I guess a right hand style preference if you like that. It works great. And again, I just want to say right now and interject really quickly that there's different ways to play every song, and this is just one way. If you find you have a slightly different way or even a totally different way that you like playing this song, hey, go for it. Whatever gets it done, I'm all for it. So here's what I like to do. I generally speaking, I like to use more fingers, and that feels better. But for this song, I think I tend to use the thumb with the index finger and the middle finger. In classical guitar, of course, this is the P, the I, and the M. And of course, this would be the A for the ring finger. So if you're looking up Pima, P-I-M-A, the picking patterns for that, this would be I've got my thumb and my middle finger together, because you would have your ring finger positioned on string 1, your middle finger on string 2, and your index finger on string 3, and then your thumb basically handles the bass strings here. So by default, the classical position then, and which just translates perfectly to folk position as well, thumb on the bass string here, and these two fingers are taking care of their job on these two strings, the B and the G right here. So the finger picking pattern that we have, pinch these two first, right? It's kind of a unique movement you've got there. You've got to have this finger plucking across the string, but not into the next string over. That's a rest stroke in classical playing, but we don't need that here for this. Your thumb and your middle finger. If you'll notice, I'm kind of arched up above there. I'm not squishing my hand down on it like this. That's not going to work. I'm not, way out here trying to claw on like this. That's also not going to work. You got to find a way to have your hand at a relatively comfortable angle. Like if I pull up my sleeve here, maybe you can see what that looks like. I'm not doing a lot of this. I'm not doing a lot of this. Pretty much comes in that kind of an angle. So your finger has to kind of pluck across the string. It's not going perpendicular, it's not going parallel. Somewhere in the middle. And your thumb plucks down, right? Your index finger is going to have its turn on this one right here in a second. Those two pinch. Your thumb is ready to play this one. There went my index finger. Notice I'm not sticking my thumb in here. What would happen if I did that? Well, it just doesn't work. So don't do it. Keep your thumb out here. Use the outside edge of your thumb there. I don't know if that's a good angle on it, but to pluck right there. You're not trying to claw it like this. That's not going to do what you need it to do. Okay, kind of let your thumb there, apply a little downward pressure, and let gravity help it do its job, and you'll be fine. It might take some getting used to. So pinch. Your thumb's ready to play that note, and instead of those two playing together, you're going to play pinch together, thumb, finger, pinch, thumb, finger together, thumb, finger, right? That's the first part of the sequence. The next part of the sequence is, and then back to the pinch, right? So you'll get pinch, thumb, finger, and you go back to the beginning of the cycle, except instead of pinching again, you just keep going thumb, finger, pinch, thumb, finger, pinch when the chord changes. Pinch, thumb, finger, thumb, finger, thumb, finger. And so you see how that pattern works. We're going from these two strings, then, oops, sorry, I'll use those two fingers for those two strings, and then these two strings, and it goes back and forth, right? So if I just have open strings, and that's your basic finger picking or Travis picking pattern for this song. So your verses are all going to consist of that picking pattern. For the B section of the song, okay, let's take a look at that, because you are going to have to transition your thumb to going to the low E string to play the bass note. So when you get to this chord, the D with the F sharp on the bass, with the open B string, okay. In the right position again. Alright, so same plucking pattern, except your thumb is transitioned over there. So if I did open strings, notice I'm not doing this. I'm exaggerating that right there, but you don't want to be pulling up on the strings. You know, if you're playing bass guitar, maybe a slap or a pop, and that can sound cool on a guitar as well. But we don't want that for this. Alright, so you've got that same exact plucking pattern going along with the chord changes. And again, your thumb simply has to transition from to this, depending on which chords you're playing. Okay, so what does that look like if I sit back here, play it a little bit? Okay, so we've got this C, G with the B on the bass, A minor. There's your verse, the B section, here's the D with the F sharp again, the G, you may notice that I'm resting my right hand pinky and ring fingers on just kind of right here on the first string. That just, I guess, is comfortable. It helps me balance the right hand and keep it holding still so it's not bouncing around as much, and it mutes that high E string as well, just because I don't really want any of the sound from it. So anyway, that is a basic straightforward, you know, having one single type of Travis picking pattern here going on for that song. You can get used to that pattern. You can learn it if you're getting, you know, ambitious with wanting to learn some finger picking, which I recommend. It's awesome. Then this is a way that you can play this song. I do like to use some other variations in it, and you've probably heard other variations of this song. I do like to do this. Which requires a bit of a different movement, and it's just a little more complicated. It's not that hard. If you get used to it, you can kind of hear it and make your fingers do that if you're wanting to take it, you know, a step or two further. But you know, I just thought we'll stick with one pattern for the video. Then when you get to this part of the song, do something a little bit different. If you want to try some different things, or you hear something different in somebody's version of the song, you know, by all means, go for it.